Alrighty, on my count. 1, 2, 3.
Movies. The average person can be inspired by them. They can make us laugh. Movies can keep us on the edge of our seat, and so much more. Maddie's Movie Mix is a podcast for movie enthusiasts of all kinds. We hope you enjoy the show.
Hey, do you have a notebook?
Somewhere.
How about we talk about The Notebook?
Like the Golden Rule?
No.
Golden Ruler, sorry.
The Golden Ruler?
Yeah. One size fits all.
I was sort of thinking about the movie.
The movie?
Yeah.
They made a movie about a notebook?
The Notebook. Not a notebook.
It's not like Diary of the Wimpy Kid, right? Where it's just about
sort of
the
similar.
notebook?
It's sort of similar.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Color me intrigued.
2004, based off of the book written in 96 by Nicholas Sparks.
Sparks. We're flying.
He did you hear what he said to his agent? Or what he thought after he talked to his agent, I should say?
No idea.
He's like he said in an interview or something like that he hung up the phone. And
that's when you could hang up phones well.
You could.
You didn't just like push a button. You're just
right. So he hung it up and he's like, nah, that couldn't be real.
Yeah.
So they sold the book, I guess. Like somebody, I don't know. I don't understand what he meant by that. That's all he said. Sold the book. My agent said we sold the book. I'm like, okay, whatever.
Damn scammers.
Exactly. He thought it was like, he must have been talking about somebody else.
Yeah.
You know.
That's right.
So that was kind of funny. That was kind of a neat thing. But then this movie in 2004, $25 million budget, and it demolished.
Killed.
It killed.
Yeah.
It demolished the box office.
Oh my gosh.
What do you got?
Well, I had 29 million was the budget, so I don't know but I think I read that wrong. You're definitely right. And I had what I had was 117.8 is what it made. Yeah.
The truth is that I have 25 and 29, so
nice.
I went with the lower. These different sources don't know what they're talking about, right. So we're at least close.
4 million.
Right.
Well, actually, to a $29 million. That's almost a fifth of them.
Yeah, exactly. That's a pretty big deal. Well, what are some of the things that caught your attention on this? You've seen it before.
Well, yeah. So I had Britney Spears audition to play the role of Allie.
Britney
Spears.
I heard
Hit Me Baby One More Time.
Reese Witherspoon.
Yep. Jessica Biel. Jessica Simpson were the people that I had all audition for.
I didn't have
good
that.
Old Allie.
I didn't have that.
And fun fact, did you know that the actors Ryan and Rachel were both born in the same hospital?
What? No, I didn't.
I thought that was a super random.
Where'd you find that one?
Deep into the internet. I actually do a background check for each of the actors in this film. Did you know Ryan Gosling made some of the furniture pieces on the set?
You know, I did see that, I guess. Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool.
That is cool.
Especially with his character.
Yeah. Yeah, I did see that.
I had a lot of random facts on this one. So Rachel and Ryan, not Ryan Reynolds, Ryan Gosling and, oh my gosh, Rachel McAdams, they won the MTV award that year for the best kiss.
Yeah.
And it changed how the award was accepted because when they accepted it, they reenacted the kiss from the movie that won them the award.
Sure.
Which I thought was pretty fun.
Because were they in a relationship at the time?
I can't remember. Well, it was interesting because it was quite the kerfuffle. I know when they were first starting up.
Yeah, they had to have therapy.
Interact. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting because, again, the chemistry was there on screen. At least I thought.
It was definitely there. I think that they, whatever they had to work through, anything that I saw, no one really said what the problem was.
Right.
But
just didn't get
Ryan
along.
said was like, look, I don't know. This isn't working for me.
Yeah.
Did you hear that? I'm not sure exactly how I want to say this, but James Garner seemed like kind of a jerk.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Like by his own admission, it seemed like he's kind of a jerk.
Yeah, which was interesting.
Yeah. Ryan was asking him, like, is there an accent that, like, because obviously this book was written.
Right.
It was based off of the South.
Right.
North Carolina.
Yeah. So
that would make sense to have an accent.
Yeah.
Seemed to be honest questions from a young actor.
Yeah.
And he literally, like, James Garner and eye color, like, are we going to try to match eye color?
Right.
And
only makes sense.
Yeah. And James Garner's quoted as saying that he's like, and hair too. Yeah. Talked about how, it's like, whatever you're going to do, kid, was basically his, like, standard answer. Like,
why do you accept that? Like, why do you accept the role? Like, is it just all the money then? I mean, it wasn't a highly budgeted film. Like,
right.
Like, why are you accept, like, granted, if that attitude, you probably aren't getting many other offers.
I don't know. It was weird.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was reading those quotes and stuff, I'm like, or the articles, I'm like, whoa, like, this is literally what James said. This isn't what someone said James said.
Yeah, it's not like a telephone game where you're getting it by a third party.
This is, like, literally what he said.
Yeah.
So, I was, like, a little disappointed in that.
Yeah.
The director's mom, though, played...
I did see that.
Yeah.
Old Allie.
Yep.
Which I thought... And she did a great job.
Oh, for sure.
It was
Absolutely.
so good.
Yeah.
I was inspired in this movie in college with... So, one of my old girlfriends, my ex-girlfriends, I used to pick peas in the summer.
Do you really want to go down this path?
Well, so here's the only reason I'm going down the path, because I was inspired by it. And so I had written... I did kind of the same thing. Spoiler, you've already watched the film, so not really. It's 2004.
Yeah.
18 years old. So if
old.
you haven't seen it, you're going to get spoiled. So he writes the letter for 365 days. So my freshman summer, I went to go pick peas. And so I was working 100-hour weeks or 70, 100-hour weeks. So I didn't have much free time at all. And I was working night shifts. And so I'd write a letter each day, and I wouldn't send them to her. I just piled them and wrapped them up and then gave them to her as a gift.
Interesting.
And,
such a romantic, Tyler.
Well, then we ended up breaking up like 3 weeks later. And I don't think it was because of that. But she had the audacity to give me the letters back.
Ooh.
And none of them were opened.
Really?
And so I was livid. And so... on the campus ministry that we did, one of the nights we were doing a campfire, a bonfire. Mm-hmm. And so I was the one setting it up and getting everything put together with the fire and the wood and everything. And so my buddy and I get there earlier. And one of the most fulfilling, satisfying things is I burned all of the letters. So, again, I was inspired.
Therapy session over. No, I'm kidding. That's a good idea, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, that's closure.
It was closure. I felt
this
so
is
good.
behind me now. That's a good idea.
Yeah. Well, hopefully people don't often have that experience.
No, right.
But if you do.
Right. Well, right. Just burning of the letters, I guess it gets, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's not what they did here.
No. No, well, she never knew the letters were there for real.
Right.
And so she got them and was emotionally moved by them.
What'd you think of the length of this film?
I thought it was a good length.
Did you?
I can't really remember. How long is it? Do you have the runtime?
I do. It's 124.
Okay.
I knew it was 2 hours, but I wanted to look, and so I put, it's 124. Obviously, credits and some of that. But
For me, being a rom-com, it didn't feel like that long, which I'm sure you may have had a different feeling on that.
It did. It went. Yeah, I think maybe I want to get into some of that in the score when we score some of the stuff, because that's kind of how I wrote my notes. But just because I think it ties into certain places.
Oh, absolutely does.
This type of a movie did leave you wanting more.
Yep.
But there was definitely plenty of times for me that it was like,
could
a
have
little
gone
long.
faster.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a little long, and didn't maybe make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I guess people could feel that way.
Yeah, I felt that way.
I don't know. It's one of those movies that they went back. So they shot this movie in reverse, it sounded like.
Right.
Which I thought was weird. I mean,
I think that happens more than what is realized. I'm
Yeah.
not positive, but I think they, like, my understanding of, I can't remember what other movie I heard that about too, was...
they shot Benjamin Buttons in reverse because he gets younger at the end of the film and he's really old at the beginning of the film, right?
Right. I'm not sure that's actually true. So facial hair for men, length of hair for women.
Yep.
I
guess that makes sense.
Is one of the reasons why they do it.
Yeah.
They also...
That's a good point.
I've also heard that some of the films where they are out of shape at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then, at the end they're in shape, so they film or
I guess that one doesn't make sense to me.
No, sorry, I said that wrong. Like they where they get out of shape.
Yeah. That's where they start.
Where they
Yeah. That makes more sense.
Some of the ones where like they age and then they go 20 years later at the end of the film, and some of those, and they put all the makeup and stuff on them, so a lot of them aren't fat suits. I think that happened with Mark Wahlberg's one of his more recent films.
Okay,
I guess too.
One of my favorite quotes talking about characters randomly getting in shape was Chris Pratt, because he did Parks and Rec, and then he did Guardians of the Galaxy, where he was super in shape. So that summer, he got in shape to get ready for that role. Well, in Parks and Rec, he was this like chunky drunkard, really funny and relatable character. But the next season, he was so thin, and the way they explained it was it was like, Andy, you look really good. And I was like, yeah, I stopped drinking beer.
That's funny.
Which I thought was
so. That's how they wrote it in.
That's how they wrote it in, that he
just stopped
all of a
drinking
sudden
beer.
got into super shape. Was
right.
That he just stopped drinking alcohol. So
yeah, whatever, that works. I guess.
Again, going back to our original conversation, I guess with the facial hair and the facial beard, the beard and hair.
Yeah,
that makes sense that they would need to do that in reverse, because it takes a while to grow out your hair or your beard.
Yeah.
So that way, looking still so good.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. That's my understanding. Yeah. I don't know if it's correct. That's just what I've sort of seen and read.
Well, if that's the reason, I can accept it.
Acceptable. Thanks. Ooh, you sure you want to know? I mean, we talked about how Ryan and Rachel. I was going to say Allie, and I was like, my mind froze. They didn't get along at the beginning.
Yeah.
I think that's obvious in the film.
No.
I don't either.
I didn't know that until I started researching it afterwards.
Right. I don't research until after.
Well, I do 50-50. No matter on what type of mood I'm in.
Yeah. I don't want to know much if I can help it.
Well, I think especially with the older films, I'll sometimes do it beforehand, because especially if I've seen them before, because I know the basic, like I know what the story is going to be. So sometimes I like researching if I have seen the movie and we're going to be reviewing again, so I need to see it. I'll then do some research beforehand, so that way when I'm watching it, I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't notice that last time, but that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So when it was interesting to me to, I watched it a long time ago.
Yeah.
So rewatching it, it was interesting to me to notice some of the things that we do notice now on purpose.
Yeah.
But that a lot of times go unaccredited, I guess.
Yeah.
And that is some of the background characters, like he and his dad really got along well.
I really like
that
that
was
relationship.
cool. And it's one of those things that were just kind of there for me in the first time I
Right.
saw it, rather than like this time I'm like, wow,
It takes work to
yes,
do that.
it does for
Yeah.
sure. So that was cool.
Especially if you go then balance it with the relationship that Rachel and her dad had.
Yes.
So I just thought it was cool that you have this dad that's super supportive, and like when he came back from the military, it was like, I sold my house, like I'm living with you and I'm all in for whatever you have
Yeah.
in store. I was like, again, that, like you said, was under the radar. Like
yeah.
it was not ever a focal point of the movie. It's never meant, like Noah never reflects back onto that and saying like, I'm so thankful for my dad. It
Right.
was just there.
Yep. And that's cool. So those types of things gave it a 4.5 for me for actor chemistry.
Yeah.
Because the way they portrayed that, even though obviously it was written that way and based on a true story, but the way that came across was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah. And I liked, well, again, we talked about James Garner's Duke in the older Alley. Like I thought that relationship was interesting. Like again, Gena Rowlands did a fantastic job playing older Allie of like my wife's grandpa died of Alzheimer's. And so just exploring that, like and we started dating after that fact.
Sure.
But I know the impact that had.
Yeah.
And just losing who a person is.
Right.
And so I can only imagine, and I think they did a great job here of like Duke of like, just, I have to stick with your mom. Mm-hmm. And then even just when her kids came, that awkward tension,
Yeah.
it felt real.
Yeah.
Like they were wanting something to be like spark. So that, not pun, but pun. And so I thought that was really cool. And then when she remembered, but then she forgot, and there's that frustration. And so I gave it a 4.6. I really liked the
Sure.
relationships that were built into this and the dynamics that those created. Again, the dad relationships. The other fiance that she ended up almost getting married to. He was also in Doctor Who. I think it was James Marsden.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The who she was engaged to
Right.
when she went back
Yeah.
to Noah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So I just like there's a lot of dynamics within
Yeah.
the relationships, a lot of subtleties, and again, they didn't ever need to dwell on it, and they just let the relationships flow, which I thought was cool. $50,000 for a house.
Location.
It amazes me.
And for a freaking nice house.
Gorgeous, completely
With
redone.
land.
Yeah,
Can we go back to that time?
I sure wish that would be the dream.
So this was written, the book, that is, was written based on Sparks' his own hometown.
Okay.
That's how he laid it out.
Yeah.
Obviously, the characters and things like that were based on his wife's.
Yeah, it was a super weird.
It was a little weird, yeah.
So his ex-wife's grandparents.
Yeah, that's what it was, right? I knew it was weird, but so they decided. So originally they were going to film in North Carolina, like it was in North Carolina,
Right.
But then they decided they fell in love with some places in South Carolina to do the filming.
Yeah.
So they made up this fictitious town.
Yeah.
And they filmed in South Carolina in some of these locations. And I loved how, the rowboat scene.
Yeah.
That was cool. That made sense.
Yeah.
All those things. So I gave it a 4.6 because decided to. I scored this after. I didn't do this based off of emotion. I scored this actually after doing research.
Okay.
And so I scored it, like, I thought that was really cool. That gave it some points for me because they're like, okay, this is supposed to be in North Carolina, but we're going to switch it to South Carolina because this visually makes better sense.
And it did.
And it did.
Yeah.
They nailed it.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
I liked the dirt driveways, and there was just so many, again, like something that, at least personally, you would just never see those type of things anymore just because that's not the style. But again, going back to the day and age, made complete sense. I liked the swans. We'll get to that in cinematography. I thought that was really cool. The carnival scene, the laying in the middle of a street.
Yeah.
I thought that was cute. There's a lot of inspirations I've gotten from this book, but this was just my best friend and I. So my guy friend and I, we did that scene non-romantically, but
That's good,
we just stared at the stars, but it was in the country. So it was a little bit different.
That's quite a bit different.
Yeah. So, I thought all those things were really cool. So I gave the locations a 4.5.
Okay. Nice.
I love those swans.
Yeah.
They weren't originally planned either, I don't think.
I'm not sure.
I did some brief reading. I didn't look into it further, but I don't think they were originally going to be in, but they decided to do it afterwards. And man, those paddling scenes and the reflection on the water.
Yeah.
I love water reflection scenes. Like if you get a reflection off of water to get a shot that you're looking for and it's done well, it's one of the coolest things.
It really is one of the coolest things.
You
Absolutely.
can't beat it, in my opinion.
Yeah, you can't green screen that kind of stuff.
No. You can try, but it'll look fake.
Yes, absolutely. I liked how they did the colors, like on the screen, like when some of the cities that they were in and the way the sun came off and the colors of the buildings and the cars. And some of that I really enjoyed. So just the way they captured the rain scene and stuff too. Some of the times they do that, I feel like it looks too fake. Obviously, it is fake. Yeah. They set up these rain machines, so to speak. Right. So you know it's fake, but they had a good light balance for me. Yeah.
That was the one thing I noticed in this film too. Like, never did I think it was too dark. Never did I think it was too bright.
Right. So yeah, with that, I gave it a 4.4 on cinematography. Yeah. That's where I was at with it.
Yes, I gave it a 4.3 for all the same reasons. Again, I really liked that boat scene. It's hard to beat that. Yeah. And there were very few times that it was too dark, but that was for good reason. So red dress sightings.
Yeah.
We talked about this a little bit, but I'll just go over my rules again. So my rules for seeing red dresses and counting them in a movie are, it has to be, the outfit has to be predominantly red. So it kind of expands the sense that it doesn't need to be a dress. There's one in here that was questionable, but I'm counting it. She was wearing a really red top, and I think it flowed down to her pants area, but I couldn't really tell because it was a darker scene. Okay. So I counted that one. And it has to be the focus of the scene. So if a background person's just walking out with a red dress, like, I'm not going to count that because to me it doesn't matter. And you're going to see a ton of them. With that being said, I got a total of 8. Wow. And I'm sure it could have been higher because I was, again, the hard part about this film too was you're doing flashbacks and flash forwards. So there was a scene where old Allie went to see her kids with old Noah. And she was like, I'm getting a little tired. I'm going to go take a nap. I believe she changed clothes when she came back and we saw her next. I think
so too. That sounds familiar, and yeah, I think so.
So you have to. So mentally, that's what I was trying to. Some of the things you have to nuance is this a different outfit? Is that the same? And I also counted the swimsuit that they were wearing in the ocean as a red dress because that was predominantly red with polka dots. So that's how I got to 8. Again, let me know if I'm wrong because I could be.
You know, I honestly don't count them. I just
I know.
I don't like you know, I don't use my fingers and thumbs and toes and elbows and.
We almost needed.
Gray
I almost
hair.
got to the toes.
Exactly. Yeah. So where did you land on score?
I gave it a 4.4. I love
Okay.
the southern feel of
Yeah.
it for the most part. Noah's clothes made sense to him, being lower class.
Yeah, right.
But then going to Allie's side, very dressed up, always wearing something nice. That I thought was really cool. And when I first started watching this, I thought all Ellie was going to wear is red dresses.
Sure.
Because there was this time after time, I was like,
know.
my goodness.
I know.
She tailed
Yeah.
off at the end and started wearing blue, and I was like, thank goodness.
Right. Right. No, I know.
But I mean, even that being said, I still liked the differences within the red dresses that were being worn. I thought they were all pretty unique, which made it fun. So.
Yeah, totally. So costume for me, you know, I liked a lot of it. Mm-hmm. There were times that I thought that, you know, it was a little overdone and some of the things didn't make bad sense, but didn't make good sense either.
Right.
Some of the workers on the scene and stuff like that, I mean, they weren't, I think a lot of them, when they were going to be out doing some of those things, they probably were a little bit more, you know, other things I've seen, I should say, they were a little bit more coordinated, I guess, rather than real sporadic, because they wanted, that was important back then.
Right.
They wanted to really represent, you know,
the class,
the company or whatever. And, but so I gave it a 4.1.
Okay.
It was good. There was nothing like super wrong with it, but it wasn't like over the top, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes complete sense.
Nothing was like, and maybe there was just other things happening and going on, but nothing was really over the top and stood out for me on the score.
I like the jazzy.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, it wasn't bad, but there was nothing like, it just didn't.
There was also a lot of times of quiet, like there just wasn't anything there.
Yeah, where there should have been and some of that. So it was a little lower, 3.6.
Okay.
Even though the film was good, I just, the score, I wasn't into it.
I like the jazzy tunes when they were played. I could see definitely
Like the dance scenes.
You know, where it was up tempo. They also did transition to sad music at times.
Yeah, I'm not saying they didn't have it, but it wasn't like, you know, it just, I don't know, it didn't stand out very well for me. Yeah.
I gave it a 4.1.
Okay.
I jazz is always fun to me. I don't think there's enough jazz music in soundtracks. And so whenever it does, and it made sense.
Why is
to this
that?
other. I think it goes back to my band days. Or why do you think there's not more jazz?
Either
in music?
question, either way is a valid question.
I used to play trumpet.
Yep.
I played trumpet from 5th to 7th or 8th grade. And they told me I played too loud, which is a surprise. So then I switched to tuba, where they told me I could play as loud as I want. And tuba is fun because you're really laying the groundwork, so other instruments can do a lot of fun stuff.
Yep.
But jazz to me is just fun because it's not normal. Well, to me at least, it's not. I don't hear a lot of it. And so I just think it has a fun style to it, like a swing. You can do a lot of different stuff. You get a lot of like vibrato. You get a lot of like not blaring, but like where it just gets louder and stuff like that. So that's why I like jazz. I think jazz is a genre that could potentially be considered more dying because there's other genres that are more on the forefront. So it just doesn't happen as much.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
It's a very picturesque film.
Yeah.
Which we talked about a lot in the cinematography side of things. I didn't notice the length as much, like we had initially talked about. There's a lot of story being told of back and forth, which didn't always make sense to me, why there was so much. Because I mean, they both seem pretty dead set to be with each other, and then
just come on,
yeah,
figure it out.
That's right. Work out your problems. Go to the therapy sessions that you went to as actors.
Yeah.
So I could see where some of the struggle is there, but overall, I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed, again, the letters, the grand gestures, like even the Ferris wheel scene where, like, just give me a date. That's all I'm asking. He's like, I would assume he'd be pretending to fall off. And so, I don't know. If you ever want, like, to set up, like, a date or do a romantic gesture, just watch this movie because there's so many different things you can draw from.
Truly.
So I gave it a 4 points. I give it, for overall entertainment, I give it 4.4 just because it's not a film I'm going to watch regularly. But again, this is just romance film. I think it's very enjoyable.
Sure. We're going to talk about the time.
Okay.
124 is too long for entertainment for me. I understand parts of it that was relatable to the story in general. Yeah. But I think the Ferris wheel scene that you're talking about, that where he was hanging and then he got pantsed. Yeah. And, while that's okay, some of those scenes were just too long. Yeah. You could have done that,
quicker pacing.
Way quicker.
Yep.
And while it might not have cut out more than 10 or 15 minutes,
it still would have cut out.
You still could have sped that up, and it would have made just as much of an impact in my book, as it did there. It maybe even more impact. I would have been a little bit less bored. At some of it, but but there were important scenes too, like when Noah's dad passed away. Mm-hmm. That was important. Maybe a little longer would have made more sense where he got, more condolences or something. Right. But there were scenes that were, so when he went to find her off the bus, you could have really done that pretty quickly. Yeah. Where you didn't need him to run up to the bus driver and say, "Let me off, let me,"
cut a few shots out.
That would have He could have just opened the door and shot out, and that would have made sense. Some of those little things.
Even with that, I thought either if you're drawing it out, like make it more dramatic. Yeah. Because when he jumped out of the bus, I was like, whatever,
tuck and roll or something.
That's right.
Yeah, totally. So those kinds of things is why I think it was too long, which also hurt the overall entertainment for me, and I gave it a 4.0.
Okay.
So the emotional side of what I'm doing right now and talking about this. Yeah. And so the way I felt about the movie, I watched it. This was probably the third time, I suppose, in reality.
Do you watch it out of reality?
No, in like there's times that it's kind of in the background, right? Because whatever it's back in the day, this would have been on like literally on TV. Not like we have it now. That's this would have been on NBC or something, right? Yeah. So that's so when I say I mean sit down and watch it front to.
That makes sense.
In reality, so in fiction,
you could watch it in virtual.
Probably
reality.
Was like 5 or 6 times. It's on in the background for stuff. But anyway,
and we're not even talking about all the times you dream about it.
That would be probably a -3. Right. But so with the overall rating, this is a solid storytelling film that you can get a lot of really positive, good life just things from.
How to have what does a good relationship with your dad or family look like? What is a healthy relationship? Because I think it's important too. They had conflict. They talk about very specifically,
yes,
they had very different personalities and they fought a lot, but they worked through that because they love each other. That again. How many? Oh, it's getting hard. Let's just get divorced.
Yep. And that's exactly it. And so with that, I gave it a 4.7. Ooh. Because I think it's just overall the rating is high. It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gave it a 4.5. I
Okay.
really enjoyed the film, and there's this again so many. Sometimes I like to think of myself as a romantic guy, and so I've definitely failed. Now that I've gotten married, and you get better at it. I'll be honest, but I do remember like there's so many things I drew from, whether that's the letters or if you were a bird, Matt, I am a bird, like just like stuff like that. That's cheesy, but also like overall they were pretty like they're simple ideas
Yeah.
that are very practical, and so
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Nice. Wrap us up, man. I do it most of the time. So
Well, it's because you do such a good job, and I think I've been closing more.
Don't patronize me.
Don't patronize you. Again.
You
Now
just-
I got the to the left, or the proposal scene with Betty White.
Right. Sweat.
To the wall. To the wall.
Sweat dripping down.
Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate
I'm trying to make him feel awkward.
all that you guys do and watching and listening to us. Tell us what movies we should watch and review. We love your
We're not
input.
going to do it anyway. No, I'm kidding. We actually have done that.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
We care.
We care.
Toodaloo.
Hammer the share button. Go ahead and hammer out a comment to us. Go ahead and hammer the like button. Go ahead and hammer the subscription button. Go ahead and hammer the notification bells, because you know what? That's the best way you can support us. We appreciate it.